Welcome to another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy to see you. I'm happy that you're happy to see me. Let's see, who do we have in the room here? Let's see, we've got, of course, my friend Zelda, who is always first. And there's the Trump Reaper, Ness from Connecticut, Fox Hill Dreams, Claudia's here, Carol Glynn, Lulu Girl, Pam Ham, Samantha McIntyre, the ABX Girl. Happy to see you guys. Welcome, and thank you for joining me. Quite a bit of things did occur this week and last week. I am very sorry that I was not here last week. It's because I don't know if you guys have noticed, I have recently started doing these extended opinion videos for Really American. And let me say, if you are not yet subscribed to the Really American YouTube channel, stop what you're doing, go run over there and check out the content. I probably shared with you that T-Pain has started doing these videos, and he is fantastic. And of course, you already know Chip Franklin. Chip is like a daily staple with our content, and Justin Horowitz is making some fantastic videos. So make sure you check that out. Let's see. Cha says, saw it, subscribe. Simon Metcalf is here, folks. Simon, welcome. Simon Marie from New Jersey. I see my friend Robert Carter. Welcome, my friend. Let's see what we have on tap for today. That is the wrong. It's totally the wrong title slide. My actual title slide, well, let's see. Yeah, no, that's the goddamn wrong title. It's fine. You guys know. And let me see. What the hell was my title slide anyway? My title slide was a good one. It has a picture of Joe Biden. You know what? Let me just go ahead and since this show is live, and that's what we do in these live shows. Oh, I never replaced it. What do you know? Let me go ahead and make that change. Look at me. I'm doing graphics while I'm live with you guys. Story time. There we go. Hit save. We'll close this. X that out. We'll go back to the show. And let's see. We'll remove that. Remove from studio. And then add this. Hey, you guys still with me? Okay, here we go. 535 changed. That ought to be it. Okay. Hello, Samantha Hawkins. I see you, my friend. Misha Oliver. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Okay, it says processing. What software do I use for the titles? I use Photoshop to do the mock-up. So you see this here. This is not a complicated mock-up, but I do use Photoshop. What was Trump Reaper was asking, what software do I use for the titles? I use Photoshop, and then to bring my slides in, I use PowerPoint. PowerPoint is a very simple program, but it's powerful. That's why they call it PowerPoint. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into what I like to call stories of the day.
Stories of the day.
My God. I don't know about you guys, but that shit is loud. I got to figure out a way to crank that music down. Okay, so stories of the day. The top story is that the Supreme Court is complicit, and it has decided that it wants to once again affect the decision for an election by possibly delaying the remainder of the most important trials Donald Trump faces in 2024. Speaking of trials, Fani Willis was not on trial, but you wouldn't know it from the closing arguments today. They called her everything but a child of God. And Judge McAfee should be weighing in to let us know whether or not she will be disqualified from prosecuting Donald Trump in another one of those trials. And going for the trifecta of Trump-related stories, there was a border war going on yesterday. It's a border war of words. You see what I did? It's a mashup there. A border war of words between President Biden and disgraced, twice impeached former President Trump. The only time I'm going to say the words president and Trump in the same sentence is if I can say twice impeached, disgraced, former, and sometimes I'll say 91 felony count former President Trump. They both had appearances at the Texas border yesterday, and President Biden one-upped him with an offer that he'd be a fool to refuse, but you know he's a fool, so he's going to refuse it. And before I forget, before I go any further, make sure, if this is your first time here, if you're just getting here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And also, excuse me, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up. It's the like button. Please like this show, like this channel. It's good for your health. It'll grow hair on your chest. No, I won't do that. But it should make you feel good. It makes me feel good. And I think it makes my viewers feel good too. So there. Speaking of feeling good, wifey and I have been watching this show that we are enjoying so much. We love it so much. It's called Resident Alien, and it was previously on the Sci-Fi Network. I missed it when it first came out. We are watching it on Netflix. If you haven't seen this show, you need a smile. I couldn't possibly recommend any show any higher than this one right now. It's so good. It's relatively politics free, come to think of it. It's just good old comedy, and it's starring the guy who's giving the finger, an alien finger, I should say, is played by the actor Alan Tudyk. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce his last name. Lisa M says she's subscribed and get all notifications. Thank you, Lisa M. Thank you so much. That's Alan Tudyk there. Excuse me. He plays the main character as an alien, and for all intents and purposes, we'll call him Harry. We don't know his actual alien name, or at least I don't know it yet. We haven't finished watching the show. But Harry crash lands on Earth, and he has a mission to complete. And his mission is to is to destroy all of humanity. And it's funny because I honestly, at some point, I was rooting for him to complete his mission, and I was like, wait, then that's the end of the show. But naturally, you probably guessed, if this thing it's already 2 seasons in. Not only has he not yet destroyed the human race, but he's been around humans enough that he is kind of developed an affinity for us. He likes us. So it's great fun. The 2 figures you see on the screen right now, one is Harry. Actually, both of them are Harry. Harry, this alien, has the ability to change his appearance so nobody sees him as the blue alien on the right, except for one person on the show. And it's a sweet, funny, goofy, good time show. I literally, I myself could have probably binge watched this whole thing and been done like a week ago, but I'm watching it with wifey, and I do enjoy watching it with her. So, however long it takes is however long it takes. Hey, Ness from Connecticut. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for that kind donation. Trump Reaper says this reminds her of They Live. That's interesting. That's a cult classic movie. They Live. For those of you who don't know, They Live is it's also kind of about aliens. This guy, Roddy Piper, I believe that was his name. Roddy Piper finds a pair of sunglasses, and he puts the sunglasses on, and it makes him see that living amongst us are actual aliens, hideous looking aliens. And like on the billboards, it says like consume, obey. It's a really funny movie. It's old as hell. It's like from the 80s. But if you haven't seen that yet, check it out. Hello, Veronica Tello and Jenny Rayner. I see you there too. Oh, John Carpenter from The Thing directed that. Thank you for that fun fact. Let's move on to what I am most excited about this week. I'm excited. I bought my tickets 2 nights ago for the fam and I and both kids are coming to see this with me. Both teenagers coming to see, and wifey, of course, coming to see Dune Part 2. Dune is a novel. It's actually you could say it's a trilogy. There's Dune, there's Children of Dune, and God Messiah, or Dune, God Messiah, whatever, God Messiah, Dune. 3 books. And when I was a kid, I read these and just freaking loved it. I loved the movie that was directed by David Lynch, although it was critically panned. It was not well accepted by the critics. That's one of those things that people say, oh, you had to read the book. The new movie, directed by Denis Villeneuve, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing Villeneuve. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but this dude is a fantastic director. He has split this movie into 2 parts and possibly a third part. And it's dense, it's glorious, it's visually astounding. I mean, there aren't enough adjectives to describe this movie. I'm practically jumping out of my skin to see this new installment because people have been describing this as like the best movie they've ever seen. That's a high, you know, it's a very high bar. I don't know if it's worthy of that, but I'm excited. It's starring Timothy Chalamet, Zendaya, the guy on the bald headed guy on the right in the picture on the screen is Austin Butler, also known as the guy who played Elvis in the recent Elvis movie. Christopher Walken is in it. Josh Brolin is in it. But Dave Bautista is it. This is stars galore in this movie. I can't even list all the stars that are in this movie. So, this is one of those movies I think where, sometimes people say, in fact, usually people say the book is better than the movie. I don't know if you can say that about these movies. I don't know if you can say it. Sure, the books are chock full of content. It's about basically, let me just try to see if I could sum this up very quickly without, getting into too many details. The guy on the left, Timothy Chalamet, is Paul Atreides, aka Paul Muad'Dib. His character is a member of a royal family, the Duke of Atreides, whatever is his father, and they're in the middle of a revolution, and so naturally his family is attacked. He has to run, and he goes to this planet called Arrakis. It's a desert planet, and it's chock full of this thing called spice. And spice is just about as valuable as oil. And so he meets the local natives on this planet. They are known as the Fremen. And the Fremen are basically desert people. They live in the desert. They work in the desert. Everything is the desert. And they mine the spice. And he leads a rebellion with the Fremen, And then he finds out that he is the chosen one. He is the one, like Neo from the Matrix, and he has powers. So you had me with powers. So this one is a fantastic movie. If you get a chance to see it or see the first one, highly recommend. Javier Bardem. Thank you, Veronica Tello. I forgot about Javier Bardem. How could I? I believe his character is Stilgar, is a very important character in the book. Let's move on to the news because we got a lot of stuff to cover. Oh, wow. Look at you, Veronica, knowing all these characters of Florence Pugh, Princess Irulan. Yep. The Michigan primary happened this Tuesday, and there wasn't a whole lot of suspense in terms of the winners. We knew who was going to win. The only question was by how much, and how much of a win was going to telegraph how dominant each of the main frontrunners of this election cycle are. Let's start with the Democratic Party. Really, President Biden's main competition in the Michigan primary was uncommitted. I'll explain more about that in a second. The other two people he's running against, or the other person, I should say, is Dean Phillips. Dean Phillips, who's basically, you can't even grace him with the title of being a spoiler because he's averaging about, well, he racked up a grand total of 2% of the vote. He was just under Marianne Williamson, who was no longer in the race. So, he is actively running against President Biden. Marianne Williamson dropped out about a month ago. She came out ahead in the final results. That's how well his campaign is going. He should drop out. I would never vote for this guy. I would never vote for Dean Phillips, even if President Biden were to drop out and nobody else wanted to run. I'd be like, oh well, I guess I'm not voting. I will never vote for him. Never, ever. Uncommitted was a campaign that was, I'm not sure if it was started by Rashida Tlaib, but it was started by people who are advocates for the Palestinian people, not to be confused with advocates for Hamas, because people like to try to conflate the two. People try to attach that stigma of terrorism to the Palestinians. I don't do that. I don't appreciate it. I don't like it. There are people, yeah, I'm sure there are some people who support Hamas. I'm sure of it. There are some Palestinians who support them. I don't know if it's a majority. I honestly don't know. I don't live there. I don't know anybody who lives there. What I do know is that the people who live there, they are subject to the rule of whoever has the guns, whoever has the power there. And right now, Hamas has the power. Why does Hamas have the power? Because what's this guy? Bibi Netanyahu preferred Hamas to have the power over the Palestinian Authority. Why? Because the Palestinian Authority wants a two-state solution. Netanyahu does not. Neither does Hamas. In fact, Hamas, they're issuing statements like, we're going to keep, yeah, you thought October 7th was bad, we're going to hit you again like that. So yeah, that's you're showing that you don't care about the people that you are purported to defend. You don't care about any of these Palestinians who are being slaughtered right now. Don't mistake my acrimony, my anger at Hamas for not holding Netanyahu to account, because I absolutely despise that guy. I despise what he stands for. I despise him as a person. I despise because his seems like his philosophy is just keep on killing until there's nothing moving. Yeah, I'm sorry if I've gotten sidetracked, but recently this week there was a massacre. There was a massacre while Palestinians were collecting food. Mind you, they are starving right now because the aid, the humanitarian aid, is few and far in between. So naturally, when food comes in, they're like desperate to get it. You have to be aggressive to get that food because everybody else is being aggressive. You got to push and shove and whatever. You got to make your way to the truck and get the flour off of there so you can feed your family. So here is where the picture gets murky. And the picture gets murky because somebody started shooting. Why did they start shooting? Were they unprovoked? Were they provoked? We don't know. What I believe is that it's not acceptable to fire bullets into a crowd full of people who are trying to get food. Lethal bullets. It is not acceptable. Whoever was in charge of giving out that food, there's got to be a better way to do it. There's got to be a better way to give it out and not have that kind of chaos there. The picture you have on your screen, I don't even like this picture, frankly. It's a screen capture from a video of the incident, of the massacre. Okay. When you see the video, your brain can not help but think they look like ants. Who the fuck took that video and put that out there? I'm sure that's from the IDF, the Israeli Defense, whatever it is. It's just, it's a very subtle kind of thing where you're looking at people milling about. I swear to God, you can't. Now that I've said that, look at the video. If you see the video online, look at it. Tell me you don't think ants. And it bothered me because I think what what Netanyahu is trying to do is dehumanize these Palestinians, is to dehumanize them, to make people less sensitive about what Israel is doing to them. And it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. So, at the end of the day, these are people. And when I said earlier that I understand, Zelda, thank you so much. Thank you for the kind donation. When I said earlier that I can kind of understand that some Palestinians do support Hamas, it's not because I think Hamas is good. I don't at all. I think it's heinous what they did on October 7th, and period. That's a complete sentence. It's heinous what they did on October 7th. I think it's heinous that they are using their own people as human shields. I also think it's heinous that Israel hasn't developed a strategy for getting to Hamas without destroying all of the civilians that are currently living there, to chase them to a city like Rafah and then say, oh, yeah, we're going to bomb Rafah. Well, you just told us to go here. Where the hell are we expected to go? You're going to chase us out of our own country? Is that the goal? And then when we try to come back, you're going to say we can't come back because we're a suspected terrorist? I don't like what's happening there. I don't like it at all. It feels like ethnic cleansing to me. Really. I'm very upset. The fucking every day that goes by. So uncommitted registered probably about 13.8% against President Biden. And that amounted to a not insignificant number. 100,000 people voted uncommitted. They say that some of those uncommitted will not be gettable. We won't be able to get them back. A good percentage of them you can get back. I think the goal is to send President Biden a message that what he's doing is not enough. It's not enough. And we are the United States of America. Uh, Israel is like our, I don't know, kid brother or kid sister, whatever. Uh, we are sworn, this is not a President Biden policy. It's like an United States policy is to help defend the state of Israel. That's the United States policy. This is not a President Biden thing. You know, it just didn't start happening when he came into office. I also don't like the fact that nobody is holding the fire to Donald Trump's feet and asking him how he would deal with this situation differently. Would he slap Netanyahu on the hand? No, he was going to. I'll tell you what he'll say in answer to that question. It wouldn't happen under me. It wouldn't happen. I would just call up Netanyahu and say, hey, we got to fix this, or something stupid. You know, I honestly believe that President Biden cares. I think he wants to do the right thing. I think he wants Israel to do the right thing. I think he's frustrated because, yeah, on the one hand, you have a lot of people, a not insignificant number of people, a lot of young people too, who are upset about this, rightfully upset about this. And then on the other hand, you have a majority of people who feel differently for one reason or another. There's people who are like, yeah, but their allegiance is to Israel. And they look at this as having to choose sides that, well, they have the right to defend themselves. But there's a difference between defending yourselves and murdering thousands. Is right now the number is at 30,000 people, 30,000 civilians have died. Now that's a number that is being disputed. Israel says, "Oh, we can't count on that number because it's coming from Hamas." Then somebody else come up with the goddamn way to verify these deaths. And in the meantime, Netanyahu wants to keep the war going. He doesn't want a ceasefire because when the war stops, he's out of a job. So it's rough. So I'm still actually on the Michigan primary. So on the other side, we had Donald Trump, who actually netted around 66, 67%. And Nikki Haley actually ended up with something closer to 26%. Also, 26%, a not insignificant number. I think, and it says there 41,000, but this was with 12% reporting. I forget how many people had reported by the time this number was out, but she ended up with close to 300,000 people voting for anyone but Donald Trump. And then there was also, I think, an uncommitted there as well. So there's a large section of people who are saying, I don't care. I don't care to vote for Donald Trump no matter what he's selling. And on a different note, I just want to throw this, this comment up for my buddy Simon. On a different tangent, your beard is looking good and fluffy, pal. Thank you, Simon. Compliments on the beard. Always welcome. Welcome. Cool whip. So yeah, Nikki Haley, I go back and forth between like just being sick and tired of her and also realizing that what she's doing, as annoying as she is, and as phony as she is, every time she is lobbing some criticism at Donald Trump, an angel gets their wings or something like that. Hey, philosophy says, but let's be clear, Hamas has to step out of the way to and surrender for what they've done. That's not going to happen, buddy. They're not going to do that. I don't know what their end game is. But yeah, I've already stated my opposition to Hamas. Problem is, I hate having to go back to this, but the problem is every time some little Palestinian boy or girl sees their parents, sees their siblings, sees their best friends being bombed, being buried by rubble and suffocated by dust and blood, every time they see this, I believe another member of Hamas has been created. What do you have left? What do you have left when somebody kills everybody that you love and you are by yourself out on the street, nobody to defend you, nobody to feed you? You are left to the, you know, there are bad people out there who want to exploit you and use you. You know, they're creating a bad, very, very, very bad situation. How are terrorists created? They say one person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter. Some people are looking at Hamas and calling them freedom fighters. I don't call them that, but I don't live over there. My whole family hasn't been wiped out by Israel. I might feel very differently about the situation if that did happen, being completely honest. So yeah, there's a lot of as the Trump Reaper points out here, there's a lot of a whole lot of Jewish Israelis who don't like Netanyahu. Yeah, I seriously hope that a lot of them will rise up and make their voices heard. So, other election news. A new contender has arisen from the ranks of the Democratic Party to face off against Lauren Boebert in Colorado. You may or may not have seen, I posted on my page a campaign. It was a launch video for Ike McCorkle. Ike McCorkle, as you see, is a highly decorated former Marine, 18-year Marine, uh, who's running for office against against Beetlejuice. I'm sorry, Beetlejuice. He's running against Lauren Boebert, who really is infamous for groping someone in a family musical. And not only that, but also we've learned that it's unbelievable. On February 27th, she posted a tweet that said, quote, "The Biden crime family." The Biden crime family will go down as the most corrupt political family in American history. Lauren Boebert, head of the Boebert crime family. Yes, Lauren Boebert has been arrested a bunch of times for a variety of misdemeanors and gropings and assaults and you name it. Her ex-husband has also been arrested once for flashing some teenage girls in a bowling alley. And then there's her son, who was recently arrested for 22 charges, including 5 felony counts. 5. Do you think this had anything to do with? I think it's just that she's a bad parent. She's a bad parent. Yeah, that's it. I think that kid still, he's only 18, so there's hope for him. I think if someone intervenes, someone takes him out of that situation. Hey, I myself, I was a problem child too. I was smart, but I was also an idiot. I was an idiot. So yes, Veronica Tella says absentee parenting. Valerie G says Republican family values. Bingo, bingo. So here's the next story. Was kind of a big deal. This was going on today. This case is, first of all, let me just say this thing is a fucking travesty. All right. Um, DA Fani Willis is not on trial. She is, in fact, the district attorney of Fulton County. And she is in line to prosecute Donald Trump for his election crimes, along with 18 other people, co-defendants in Fulton County, Georgia. This is part of the infamous phone call, perfect call, where he says, I just need you to find me 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have. So what did his defense attorneys do? They went digging. They went digging for dirt, for anything they could find on Fani Willis. And the best they could do was come up with some stuff about who she's sleeping with and to make it look like, oh, she's dirty. She's sleeping with a prosecutor on her team. Now, with that said, Nathan Wade, I believe is his name. Not smart, not ideal, but also not illegal. Not illegal for her to date a guy that she's working with. Happens all the time. In fact, I believe one of the defense attorneys, Merchant, aren't they married? Yeah, so this sort of thing happens. People work together and they sleep together, that sort of thing. It happens. But here's Marie from New Jersey with a perfect comment here. Perfect. Gossip and speculation. Gossip and speculation. I swear I heard I heard these lawyers I heard these lawyers say more of what I think happened was what? You're not at the stage where what I think happened was you're coming up with hypotheticals, what you think happened. No, it's like what I can prove happened. And they can't prove a goddamn thing. Nothing. They can't prove it. What they were trying to prove was that she somehow came up with this scheme, this grand master plan to enrich herself by hiring this guy who who's already not making that much, based on what he could be making. And the lawyer, one of the lawyers, defense lawyers, came up with an amount that it was just like head scratching. Like said, what we've determined is that she could have benefited $9,400. What? She keeps more than that in her safe at home. Also, how do you explain the fact that she was originally going to hire the other guy, that former governor, whatever, that everybody was so in love with? Unreal. But here's another thing I want to say about this goddamn travesty of a case. This guy, Terrence, what's his last name? Terrence Bradley. He's a terrible friend and an even worse witness. Where the fuck did they come up with this guy? He was like, when I was watching him testify the other day, I was like, shit, this is not looking good. Horrible witness. For this guy's a lawyer. Hey, Tanya Vav, I see you, my friend. Yeah, this was not looking good for the prosecution, but he testified to whatever he testified to. The problem is he had sent something like 400 text messages to Ashley Merchant, the defense. 400 goddamn text. What do you? I can't even fathom what, dude. What are you doing? Why? The only thing I can possibly think of, honestly, I hate to say this, but maybe he thought he was going to get some from Ashley. She's married, but maybe he thought, he was going to get some cookies out of the cookie jar. I can't understand it. Here's another probably more likely scenario, his quote unquote separation from Wade's firm should have disqualified him. Marie from New Jersey, you gets it. You gets it. That's probably what happened. So both sides have made their closing arguments. I've seen a lot of legal experts saying that they don't believe that the defense rose to the level of proof that they're supposed to have reached in order for Judge McAfee to disqualify DA Fani Willis. Here's the problem. What the defense has done was they've muddied up DA Fani Willis. Nobody is ever going to look at her the same after this. People look at her, and then they see a sexual object. They don't see a professional woman, a prosecutor, someone to be respected and feared. They dirtied her up. And that is a goddamn disgrace. And I partially blame Judge McAfee. I think he let that shit get out of control. I saw somebody saying earlier that this was a case that should have been handled behind closed doors. Like the judge should have brought lawyers from both teams into his chambers and said, no, this is what's going to happen. No, fuck this. Get out of here. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. And maybe she can shake it off. Maybe she can shake it off and go about, the task of prosecuting Donald Trump. I think she should be able to. Can she? Can she be as effective? Who knows? She might be losing in the court of public opinion if the defense has done enough to raise questions about her. Maybe this helps Trump in under appeal. Who knows? Okay. This shit went down yesterday, and I got to say, I feel a certain kinship with Hunter Biden. I mean, when I say I feel a kinship, we couldn't be more different. Hunter does come from, obviously, a privileged background. He's attended Ivy League schools and he's gone to law school, and his father was a senator before he was a vice president and now the president. Very, very different. But where he and I connect is our background in addiction. And he fell hard. I fell hard. And not only have we both fallen hard, but people have used our very publicly known battles with addiction to lash out at us and attack us and to try to hurt us with our past. Now, for me, I believe it has made me stronger. It has made me unbelievably strong. You can't, there's nothing anybody can say online about me that can hurt me more than I hurt myself for all those years that I was doing messed up shit that I talked about openly online. And then they just thrown back in my face every time I post something. Oh, you did this, you sold your kid's toy, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I did that shit 20 years ago. Get over it. Get some new material. But yesterday, Hunter Biden relented. At first, he didn't want to attend a closed door hearing because he was concerned that Republicans were going to try to use that closed door scenario to misrepresent the facts, misrepresent what it was that he was telling them. Thankfully, there are receipts from this closed door thing, and these receipts are delicioso, delicious, because didn't this guy, Matt Gaetz, find himself trying to fuck with Hunter Biden, and way Hunter Biden clapped back on this dude? Oh, he's my hero, bro. Man, I just love it. Matt Gaetz, of all people, to try to come at him sideways, Matt Gaetz asked Hunter if he was high when he was on the board of Burisma? Matt Gaetz. Why is this surprising? Matt Gaetz, of all people? Matt Gaetz is currently under investigation from the House Ethics Committee for sexual misconduct, for drug fueled sex with underage girls, which I guess is really rape, technically, right? Isn't it? They're underage. They cannot consent. Therefore, it is rape. He came out of his face to ask Hunter Biden, were you on drugs when you were at Burisma? And he was like, you talking to me, pal? No, hold on. Let me get the exact text here from my pals that are really American. This is where I go sometimes for my news. Here's the exchange. He says, Hunter Biden looks at him and says, Mr. Gaetz, look me in the eye. Do you really think that's appropriate to ask me? Whenever somebody asks you, are you sure you want to go there? You should absolutely say, let me think about this. But no, he was like, absolutely. And then Hunter Biden says, of all the people sitting around this table, do you think that's appropriate to ask me? Gave him a second chance out. Nope. Yeah, he wanted to continue. So Hunter Biden went on to say, I have been absolutely transparent about my drug use. Was I an addict? Yes, I was an addict. What does that have to do with whether or not you're going to go forward with an impeachment of my father, other than to simply try to embarrass me? Solid response. And I mean, the shenanigans didn't end there. You know, Matt tried, he did his best, but Hunter was very well prepared in his answers. And at the end of the day, he has said over and over, my dad had nothing to do with any of my business involvement whatsoever. Oh, there was another line of questioning Matt Gaetz tried to get him on, asking what were his qualifications for being on the board of Burisma. And Hunter explained to him, he's like, look, I don't have to know if I'm going to work for, let's say, an electronics company. I don't need to know how to create a motherboard or work on circuitry or whatever. I have expertise in certain areas. Well, where's your areas of expertise? And so he started to explain what his business background was. They got nothing on it. At the end of the day, the Republicans have nothing. They never did have anything. It's a big, massive fishing expedition. And it's anybody's guess whether or not they are still going to attempt to try to move forward with impeachment, having nothing but what was it you said up there? Speculation. Who said that? Was it Marie from New Jersey? Said speculation and something or other. I'm like, gossip and speculation. It's a good comment, Marie. Yeah, they got zip, nada, zilch. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate that. Pam Ham with the mic drop. Okay, so let's see, where are we now? Okay. This case irritating the shit out of me. We learned the other day that the Supreme Court has decided to hear the case of whether or not Donald Trump can order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate his opponent, and he would have 100% presidential immunity, because that's clearly a thing in his mind, and only in his mind. It has never come up in the history of America. No sitting president or former president has ever needed absolute presidential immunity. And we're including presidents who have ordered the dropping of freaking nuclear bombs, atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, killing many thousands of people. No president has ever had to specifically request immunity. And there's probably, look, Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon needed a pardon from President Ford. If presidents have immunity, Richard Nixon would not have needed that pardon. He could have just said, presidential immunity, back off. But he didn't, because he didn't. He didn't because he didn't. He did not have immunity. So let's say what Veronica says, yes, give Joe Biden immunity. What would, so the problem with that is that, sure, you and I can think, what if Joe Biden were just to, let's say, I'm going to delay the election until we have a legal verdict on all of these Donald Trump cases. We're going to indefinitely delay the election. I'm president until further notice. Immunity. President Biden would never do that. He believes in America too much. He believes in this experiment of democracy. He would never, ever do that. He would never do anything to damage the reputation, to damage the office of the president. He has way too much respect for the presidency, for America, and for himself. Donald Trump, however, has no such problem disrespecting America, disrespecting himself, the office. It isn't problem with that at all. So his stooges sitting on the Supreme Court. Well, okay, this is a picture of not his stooges, it's just the Supreme Court. His stooges sitting on the Supreme Court have decided to hear this case. Why is that an issue? It's not a problem. You want to hear it and deal with it in an expedited fashion. That's terrific. We need an answer. In fact, just before I jumped on the show, I saw that there was a poll that said that 64% of Americans want to see a verdict on the federal election interference case that Trump is facing. That's 64% majority. And that includes some 30-something percent of Republicans who want to see a verdict. Here's the problem. The problem is the Supreme Court has set April 22nd as the date for when they're going to when they're going to hear oral arguments. Now, that's 2 months from now, essentially 2 months. After they hear oral arguments, theoretically, they could decide to take until the very last day of their term in the beginning of July to issue a verdict. They could. We can't assume that they're going to do everything expedited. They're going to hear our oral arguments on the 22nd of April, and we'll have an answer by the 23rd of April. We can't assume that at all. You have to assume the worst. Why? Because there are conservative justices sitting on the Supreme Court that are kind of old. Talking about Clarence Thomas, talking about Alito, and these guys don't want to be sitting on the Supreme Court forever. I'm sure Clarence Thomas wants to, enjoy his many, many gifts from billionaires and spend the rest of his life traveling at leisure and luxury and doing that thing. Now, he can't resign. He can't step down from the bench if there is a Democratic president in office. So it's to his interest to ensure, or to do whatever he can to put his thumb on the scale to ensure that our next president is Republican. So he can retire, and that Republican president can appoint a Republican or conservative justice to replace him. I'm sure you guys are not doubting this scenario. I'm sure of that. And so, with looking at the worst case scenario, it's possible that the remaining cases don't even get tried before the election. So this is a big problem. This is a big problem. And I'm very upset about it, but I'm not surprised, number one. And number two, it really doesn't change a thing. Because at the end of the day, the Supreme Court was never going to save us from Donald Trump. Never. Even if the Supreme Court, let's go in the complete opposite direction. Let's hypothetically assume that the Supreme Court hears the arguments and they're like immediately, April 23rd, no, president does not have immunity. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. It took us 15 minutes to decide that, folks. Let's just assume a complete 9-0 unanimous decision. No presidential immunity. One day. So the court cases are allowed to proceed. And then what happens? Let's say he gets convicted. Do you think that's going to stop him from clinching the nomination? It ain't. That would require intestinal fortitude. It would require that the people in power, the elected officials in the Republican Party, are able to step to Donald Trump and demand that he step aside and let Nikki Haley, for instance, run in his stead. It ain't going to happen. He will never abdicate power. Never. So what does that mean? Well, that means that they're ride or die with Donald Trump. So that brings us back to where we are. And where we are right now is that the Supreme Court ain't saving us. We have to vote. And not only do we have to vote, but we have to educate and we have to inform. There is a shit ton of people out there who are believing Donald Trump's lies. There's a shit ton of people out there who don't even know what Donald Trump's lies are. Why? Because they shut it off. Because to them, politics is just a mess. And I don't have time for politics, but you have to make time because this could be our last free election. This could be the last election where we have a chance to have a say in whether or not women have the right to bodily autonomy or families have the right to do family planning for themselves and have access to IVF. Would you believe that a whole lot of Republicans said, oh, yeah, I support IVF access, and then a whole shit ton of them voted against it? They're talking out of one side of the mouth and they're doing something with the other side of their mouth. Can't believe Republicans, and they don't deserve to legislate. They don't deserve to lead because they can't lead. This is the most unproductive Republican-led House in history. By December 2023, they had passed a grand total of something like 26, 28 bills. They're way behind any other Congress going for decades. They're spending their time investigating Hunter Biden, going after Alexander Mayorkas for the border issue that they don't even want to pass a bill to resolve. Now we'll wait a year. We'll wait in case Donald Trump wins so he can get the credit, so he can spend the next 8 or 9 months complaining about something that we could fix today. So yeah, Claudia says you need to vote blue on all those down ballot offices, 100%, because a lot of people don't realize, so important. Those down ballot races are so important because There's another end around scenario that Republicans are trying to do, where they're trying to gain control of all those, like they say, excuse me, the people with the power are the ones who count the votes, or something like that. They want to be put themselves in position to be able to count the votes and to reject the votes. So we got to vote, plain and simple. Here's my next. Make sure you hit the subscribe and a like button if you have not already done so. How dumb is Byron Donald saying IVF breeds more families? He is dumb. But so is the rest of his caucus. Yesterday, let me just say how proud and amazed I was with our president. Yesterday was a what I was calling border war of words. On the one hand, you had two presidents, right? And actually, there's a video I created on Really American. I wonder if I can play that for you guys. Let me see if I can do that. I don't know if I can, but I'm going to do my damnedest to see if I can. Oh, wait. Here we go. Really American YouTube. Let's do that. This was a good video. What's funny is, I don't know if you guys have noticed, right? But I used to have an issue with looking directly into the camera, and I have started to do this, and I'm getting better at it. So there. Here we go. Okay. I don't know if this is going to work. You guys let me know if you hear any echo or whatever, but let's see if I can share screen. Biden makes Trump offer he can't refuse. Okay. Two presidents visited the border today, the Texas border. One current and one former. One visited Brownsville, the other one visited Eagle Pass. Both made speeches. Both had exceptionally different tones in their speeches.
Let's remember who the heck we work for. We work for the American people, not the Democratic Party, the Republican Party. We work for the American people. And let's remember who we are. We're the United States of America. No, I mean this. Think about this. There's nothing beyond our capacity. Nothing when we work together.
But this is a Joe Biden invasion. This is a Biden invasion over the past 3 years. I call him Crooked Joe because he's crooked. He's a terrible president, the worst president our country's ever had, probably the most incompetent president we've ever had.
I'm sorry. Okay. I don't mean to laugh because it's not funny, but it kind of is. It kind of is funny. You know, there's such a stark difference can hear on. Let's see. I'm sorry, Lulu girl. What is wrong with you, girl? Lulu girl just wrote, breaking news, James Comer just uncovered that Joe Biden failed to return VHS video of On Golden Pond in 1982, and the clerk will testify he frequently failed to rewind. That's funny. Anyway, I played that video for two reasons. One, you should make sure you go run after this show and go check out the YouTube, the Really American YouTube channel, where there's commentary like that and stuff. And I put in really good clips to support my arguments. But yeah, it's a starkly different tone. You know, President Biden is talking about solutions and helping people, and Donald Trump is saying there, he's the worst president ever. Oh, I call him Stupid Joe. And you know, come on. How is this such a difficult decision for people? You know, we grew up watching responsible adults and politicians and presidents. People grew up watching, you know, Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton and even, dude, guys, even George W. Bush, like the stupidest president I can recall in modern history. Not even George W. Bush was as dopey and as immature as Donald Trump. He's like clearly the worst. Just boggles my mind. But anyway, President Biden made Donald Trump an offer he could not refuse or should not refuse. And basically he said, all right, let me share this one for you because I'm not going to be able to say it as well as President Biden said it. Here we go. Let's share this and let's share that. Let's turn up the volume.
What I would say to Mr. Trump, instead of playing politics with this issue, instead of telling members of Congress to block this legislation, join me. I'll join you in telling the Congress to pass this bipartisan border security bill. We can do it together. You know and I know it's the toughest, most efficient, most effective border security bill this country has ever seen. So instead of playing politics with the issue, why don't we just get together and get it done? Let's remember who the heck we work for. We work for the American people, not the Democratic Party, the Republican Party. We work for the American people. And let's remember who we.
Okay, so here's my point. That was astounding to me. It was astounding to see a president, to see a politician during an election year make an offer to his opponent to say, hey, either you join me or I'll even join you. You take the credit. Be upfront and take the credit in solving this issue just so we can help the American people. I was astounded. I was floored. Frankly, I was floored that Nicole Wallace didn't immediately like put the brakes on the show and say, do you believe what this guy just said? Surprised that she didn't go there because it was very uncommon. You don't see that. You don't see it. It's bizarre. Bizarre to me that people didn't make a bigger deal out of it than it was. And maybe they didn't because they thought, he's not going to take him up on that. It doesn't negate the fact that he made the offer. He made the offer, and Donald Trump, you know what? If Donald Trump had an ounce of sense in his head, he'd say, all right, Joe, Sleepy Joe, I'll take you up on that, and I will own this, and I will show America that I can solve this even while you're in office. Or something like that. He would never put thoughts together like that. But, he had a perfect chance to score some points for his base, to solve an issue. But whatever. It's unbelievable. And I've made analogies like, it's like it's like the Republicans are standing outside screaming, oh, my house is on fire. My house is on fire. And the fire truck, here comes the fire truck. And they say, all right, where's the fire? And then the Republicans are like, actually, no, we don't need you. But your house is on fire. Yeah, but we just want to complain about the house being on fire. We don't actually want you to put it out. Silly fireman, get out of here. Crazy. So where does that leave us? That leaves me extremely proud of my president. It's a great move. I don't care about his age one bit. And every day that goes by, I care about it even less. Because I would prefer a President Biden. You know what? If President Biden was 88 years old, I would still prefer him over a 70-year-old Donald Trump. I look at video where Donald Trump was in his last term, what was he, 70, 72 or whatever? He was saying some dumb shit. Some dumb shit and doing dumb, stupid things. I haven't forgotten how embarrassing it was to have him in office and how frightening it was every day, wondering what the fuck is he going to do next? Sharpie around around hurricane issues. Yeah, I'm absolutely proud of the president that President Biden has showed himself to be. He's achieved so much, and he's got even more planned. Just so you know, I have it on good authority. There's going to be some announcements made, possibly in the next State of the Union. What do I know? I can't tell you. What I can tell you is that if America reelects President Biden, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be fantastic. Things are already looking up. Here's another stupid thing that I want to dispel. Donald Trump is pushing this bullshit about a migrant, what he's calling the Biden migrant crime wave. It's bullshit. It's total bullshit. And Fox News is pushing this migrant crime wave. I don't doubt that 1 out of 20 or 1 out of 30 or 1 out of 100 migrants is committing crimes. I don't doubt that. Sure. There's a lot of Americans born and raised here committing a shitload of crime, heinous crimes. But let's put things into perspective, okay? They are trying to use. There's a woman who died, I think, from Georgia. Not remember her name. She was killed. Apparently, she was killed by a migrant. And so they like to take these extreme fringe cases and make it seem like that's the norm, that's what's happening everywhere, 24/7, around the clock, all over the place. It's happening around the corner from here. It's happening to my next door neighbor. But it's not. In fact, this is the last video I'm going to share with you guys for today. In fact, 2023 saw a drop in violent crime. It's the least violent crimes we have seen ever in history. Where's that video? Here we go. Yeah. Let me just do this. I'm going to turn up the volumes. And here we go.
Killing Americans.
Migrant crime wave, the migrant crisis, the growing immigrant crime crisis.
Every third day, there's a story about some sort of migrant crime. The drumbeat of propaganda has been moving not just Republican opinion overall in a really bad direction. A recent Pew poll found that a clear majority of Americans believe a large increase in the migrant population leads to an increase in crime. The problem is, it's not true. It is simply not true. It is a right-wing invention. According to preliminary data from last year published by the New York Times, the country is likely to see one of the largest, if not the largest, yearly declines in homicides. That's right. We are going to set a record in 2023 for a drop in homicides. So to recap, homicide saw a near record single-year spike under Donald Trump, and it now appears the largest single-year decline in homicides ever in American history happened under Joe Biden. And I will further speculate that if 2023 saw the biggest one-year increase in the homicide rate in recorded American history, everyone would know about it. But what's more, according to new analysis from NBC News, quote, expert analysis and available data from major city police departments show, despite several horrifying high-profile incidents, there is no evidence of a migrant-driven crime wave in the United States. In fact, in many of the cities, like New York, that have taken in a huge amount of migrants, and really have been a lot, crime has gone down quite considerably.
Very, very interesting and important note. Crime has not gone up. Crime has gone down in cities that have taken in a large number of migrants. Crime has gone down, not up. So when you hear people, no volume, God damn it. Shit. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. Fuck. I don't understand why you couldn't hear it. But can you guys hear me now? Wasn't showing up for any of my videos. Shite. That is very unfortunate. I apologize, guys. After this show, I'll make sure I retweet those videos so that you can see what was being said. But for right now, I'll paraphrase. I'll tell you what Chris Hayes was saying. He was saying that that in 2023 we saw a dramatic drop in homicides, an all-time low, the lowest number of violent crimes, homicides in American history. There's never been less homicides than in 2023. Okay. And in Donald Trump's term, there was a all-time spike, the most homicides during his term. And then on top of that, what he was also saying was that in cities that increased, that experienced an influx of migrants, that there was a overall drop in crime. Not more, but fewer crimes in cities that saw a spike in migrant population. So there you have it, folks. Make sure you share that with your favorite or least favorite Trumpers. Make sure you share that. I'm going to retweet it so you guys can see that shite and help spread the word, because it's important for us to refute the lies. This is right now. It's going to be an information war from between now and November 5th. The lies are going to be coming fast and furious from the right, and it's our jobs. I'll call it my job. I don't care. But yeah, it's going to be our jobs. Those of us who wanted to help defend democracy and help reelect President Biden, it's going to be our jobs to knock down those lies as fast as they pop up. So make sure you stay tuned in to Brooklyn Dad Defiant, the BDD. Stay tuned to Really American. Stay tuned to these sites that you enjoy, the Midas Touch Brothers. Those guys are good. Call to Activism is excellent, an excellent source of news, information. Jojo from Joy's, she's good too. You know, listen to these folks. Subscribe, follow. Let's get this done. All right. So happy fun Friday, BDD and everyone. And same to you, Zelda, and to my friends. I say thank you for joining me for another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Folks, it's Friday night, so you know it's pizza and movie night. Tonight, I think wifey and I are probably going to finish watching Alien, Resident Alien. Probably catch up with an episode of what's that other thing? Tokyo Vice we're watching. And we finished, I don't even know if I told you guys, but we were watching this show called Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which is loosely based off of the movie starring Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. This one was starring Donald Glover from the show Community, and forgive me, I cannot remember his co-star's name. She was terrific. The show is terrific. It's basically about two people who pose as husband and wife, but actually they are assassins. It's very fun. It was on Amazon Prime. If you have a chance to check it out, check it out. So my healthcare, Lisa M says, my healthcare system has a gun violence forum in Manhattan a few days ago. That's awesome. Excuse me. That is awesome. Okay, you guys. I don't know what else to say other than this was a very jam-packed week, but we're going to get through this. We are going to get through this. We are all going to come through this. Knock on wood. We're going to come through this okay. We're going to do everything that we can to ensure that as many people as possible vote blue, and we save democracy, and we make sure that Donald Trump ends up, if not behind bars, as far away from the White House and the Oval Office as possible. So oh yeah, and rest in peace, Richard Lewis. Thank you, Pam Ham. That was sad news because Richard Lewis is a very funny guy. I loved him on Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's funny watching episodes with him wrestling with Larry David on the ground. Those were really very funny. And he was relatively young. He was 76. I believe he was diagnosed with Parkinson's recently, as recently as maybe a year or two ago. So rest in peace, rest in power, Richard Lewis. And to the rest of you all, I say, if you haven't gotten your shot yet, that's what I say. Keep your social distance 6 feet or better. And I look forward to seeing you all here, back with me, same time, same place. I love you all. Peace.